What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. What is up, dude? We're coming again live from Ray's kitchen. And guys, I'm so sorry. I got called on a conference call this morning with the stock market being what it is. And then also hiring two, and we're bringing on a third person within 8 months. It's been a little crazy. So thank you guys for bearing with me. Ray, what's going on, brother?
What's up, dude? I like to say there are no emergencies in the art world. That's not always true, but that helps me keep things in perspective.
It could often.
Nah,
it
can always wait.
I've got to imagine that when you're dealing with paintings that are worth however many dollars, or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, that emotions can run high.
Oh, they do. Yeah, the diarrhea is real. The anxiety is real.
Oh yeah, I was at an office this weekend, and this guy is worth a lot of money. I think around $200 million, something like that. He's got artwork in his office, and one of the people we're with touched one of his paintings. Which, is that a big no-no, or is that only out of the movie? Like I assume not supposed to touch it.
I do it, but I know which paintings to touch and which paintings not to touch.
Got it. Okay. Because it's like oil paintings they're not supposed to touch, I assume, right? Is that the...
I mean, just as a general rule, don't touch any of the art.
Yeah. That's what I've operated, because I've seen like one or two movies where somebody touches the oil painting or whatever painting, and then it's worth zero or something.
Actually, Steve Wynn,
so that is my
tycoon,
novice perception.
Steve Wynn, the casino tycoon, is blind, right? And he backed into a like $150 million Picasso and like put his elbow through it. And so I think it took another $20 million to repair it. But that's is he gone? All right, is Steve Wynn? Happy birthday in heaven, buddy.
Dude, that's what I was just about to say. Kaizen said R.I.P. Steve Wynn. I didn't realize that he passed away. I'm Googling it right now. I think he might be alive. It's not saying he's dead, but maybe Kaizen's right. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, apparently he's a beast. Sort of like one of the godfathers of Vegas. But anyway, density diet today. And we're getting to the Rhomas Bowl, which I'm going to pull up a picture. So real quick, what is density diet? Density diet is something that we made up not too long ago, looking through the lens of micronutrient density and building our way from there of our food. Quick little riff on this. The reason that I started looking through this lens is because I did bodybuilding for a while, men's physique competing. So it wasn't trying to get like super like, jacked and 270 pounds of solid muscle. It was more about becoming symmetrical and aesthetic, if you're not familiar with the bodybuilding world. Basically, I want to look like, I think the whole men's physique aesthetic division was created after Ray. Exactly. So it was like, okay, if you were to go to a beach, or if you're to look like a superhero, like fighter, what would that look like? So that's why the division was created. I was attracted to that only because I love competition, and that seemed as closely related to my physique values as I could find. Plus, I did not want to take steroids. Anyway, which, funny enough, now the division is just like completely filled with steroids, in case you're into that kind of stuff. So with that being said, I was on bodybuilding diets for a very long period of time. And then I went through a weird, like a mental model. I forget exactly what the catalyst was. I know what it was. I was working in New York, working, I don't know, a bajillion hours a week. And somebody gave a really good presentation on something. I saw a TED Talk, and it was on relationships, I believe. And then it got me thinking. It's like, wow, like why do I not have my values documented? And then that quickly transpired into nutrition. So then it took me a couple of years after that point. I had that thought again. I was like, why do I not have a presentation built for myself? So if I were to be asked to give a presentation to the world to defend my diet, could I? And I eventually got around to saying, oh shit, like, let me look through it. Like, how could I defend it? And I ended up doing a lot of research and finding out that my diet, my bodybuilding diet, it's not that it was unhealthy. It's that it was nowhere near optimally healthy. Like nowhere even close. Like I think when I read How Not to Die and a couple cancer books, because my grandma unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer. She's fine now. But I started reading these books and they had very one profound common theme, which was like micronutrient density, basically like vegetables, fruits, etc. And I almost had none in my diet. I mean, I had the typical bodybuilder, like you boil some chicken, you put some rice, and you put a few florets of broccoli, and like that was it. And then like it changed that next meal to 3 stems of asparagus. And when I started matching my stuff up with Dr. Greger's work and How Not to Die, and he uses double-blind, randomized, clinically controlled studies as best as possible, a lot of metadata, et cetera, I found that I could not justify. Like if I were to get up and give a presentation, let's say for a TED Talk, and there was nutritionists in the room, they would laugh at my diet. So that's when I started building up, and I eventually came to the conclusion, it's like, oh, I need to start looking at my diet from a lens of density, particularly micronutrient density, phytochemical density, fiber density. And then from there, do the macros fit in? And dude, when I changed that, like everything changed for me. Like, quite literally. I don't measure macros anymore. I don't cut up and weigh out food. I don't do any of it. I haven't done it for years. And there have been several times where I've reached per in-body testing, as low as 5.5% body fat. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying to actually, like, if anybody wants to not weigh their food and not count macros, which, by the way, does very much work. I did that for years. Very much works. But if you don't want to do that, and if you want to eat out at restaurants, like I literally didn't eat out at restaurants with friends or family. I'm not kidding you, for probably a decade. I would do it like every once in a while for a birthday, but in hindsight, I don't know that it was worth it, especially now knowing that I can obtain the same amount of leanness without being such a freak. Now, subsequently, when I go to restaurants, I still seem like a freak. I get comments on it all the time because basically what I do is I build a big ass salad, like a huge ass salad, that's what we'll get into today. So if you're interested in optimizing your aesthetics, like meaning lean muscle tissue, less body fat, performance, because you'll be eating a lot of carbohydrates, quote, technically, don't get scared when I say that, on this diet, and then longevity and energy, I have not found any diet better. So Ray, any comments on that? Because I know that you have tried the density diet and are getting back into it, it seems like.
Yeah, nothing to add really. You covered it all. The density diet, the Rhomas density bowl that we're going to build right now, as well as the green shake smoothie blender drink. I think that covers, and a ton of water. Like that covers all the nutrients you need to survive. And look,
yeah, and I would say, I also think part of this, and Ray, I would love to go through this with you right now. Like if you and I committed to the density diet for a certain period of time. Now, here's the thing: committed meaning I actually look at it from a more food perspective, not a less food perspective. So, for instance, if Ray and I can commit right now and saying, yeah, we're gonna go hardcore on the density diet, what that means to me is
for
that
example,
means. Oh, sorry, what'd you say?
Like for 1 month.
Well, yeah, let's even say for 1 week. But what it does not mean, in my opinion, it means commit to eating the food, not commit to eating less food. So, for instance, if you want the cookie after you eat your food, then fucking do it. I think that's the one thing that I have found very profound for me using this diet, which is I'm not going to approach it from the lens of lack. I'm going to approach it from the lens of abundance and say, I'm going to eat whatever the hell I want, so long as I first eat my density bowl, right? Like my Rhomas Bowl, like my density diet stuff. Because one of the aspects here that when I built this was to maximize volume. Because when I first read about stretch receptors in stomach, essentially it's like we've got 4 to 6 cups in volume in our actual stomach. And then also it takes about 20 minutes from my understanding. And Kaizen, I feel like, or Gunther probably know about this, or Ray, maybe even you know about it. From my reading, it seems like it takes about 20 minutes from communication to brain to gut, essentially. Like I'm massively oversimplifying, and I'm not pretending to even know what I'm talking about. This is the number that I've seen, though. But right now, with like American style diet, we can consume 3,000 calories inside of 7 minutes. You just go to your local McDonald's and you'll prove this math. Versus when you eat a huge salad and you're actually committed to like chewing it, it takes roughly 20 to 30 minutes to get it down, assuming you're not just like shoveling it in. So number one, it maximizes volume. So the stretch receptors in your stomach expand, and you don't want to eat 20 cookies. At least that's what I have found. Secondly, it takes a long time to eat. So you're maximizing the chewing, and I believe there's some communication and saliva metabolism stuff going on in there as well. So those are the different dimensions at which I've studied this, and it works like hell for me. So Ray, any other comments, bud, or you want to hop into it?
No, I'm just communicating with the chat here, and yeah, when I make my worst food choices, it's when I have an empty stomach, I'm starving, I haven't covered all my bases.
Yep.
And I'm driving by the McDonald's, the ice cream store, all those other tempting things, the gas station or whatever. Yep. And so I agree that the best setting yourself up for success is what we talk about a lot here. And having a healthy belly full of food is before you get out there in the world is the way to do it.
Exactly. And a quick little side note, whatever anybody is doing, if it promotes health and longevity and, and cardiovascular health, I'm down for it. Like 100%. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this is the one size fits all silver bullet. It has worked for me. It's worked for a lot of other guys. I think I showed you guys, who was it? Was it Austin's before and after? I will show everybody that again. Let me see if I have this here.
You have it on your just screensaver, on your lock screen. I know.
Yeah. So, hope Austin doesn't mind me showing this. I think I got his permission a long, long time ago. But so anyway, so there you go. That was him before, and then that was him after. That is just one, and I can tell you I've experienced the same results for myself. And obviously, he's working out and doing all that stuff. But no counting macros, no food prepping, nothing except for density diet. From my understanding,
how easy it is.
What'd you say?
Let's show them how easy it is. I'll put myself on mute, and you can just rattle off the ingredients.
All right, sweet. So, where are we at here? Okay, cool. So I apologize to somebody only listening to audio here, but I'll try my best to verbally walk through it. So this is the picture of the Rhomas Men's Team Bowl. It's the density diet. And basically we're going from bottom up. So first at the bottom is to stack the bowl. Well, I guess number one is turn your plate into a bowl, just like Ray has there. And particularly a large bowl, not just a small cereal bowl. Almost like a salad bowl that you would serve to a family. So that's the first thing. And the very first ingredient that I put in there typically is some sort of cruciferous vegetable. So broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Yes, exactly. There's an example. What Ray is showing is 2 bowls. One bowl is the typical bowl. The other bowl is what I would consider that's what I eat, like the big salad bowl. It literally looks like you're serving a family for it. So somewhere in between would work as well. So, but definitely not a plate, at least for me. So just by setting up the bowl correctly, you are optimizing the volume, which we just talked about. Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode. So the first ingredient is broccoli, cauliflower, some sort of cruciferous vegetable. Why? Because, yep, there you go. Ray's showing the broccoli. Because two things. Number one, super healthy, macronutrients, micronutrients. The relationship in particular. So when we talk about density, we're talking about the density of micronutrients relative to its calories. So you're actually looking for not a lot of calories per unit of, let's say, health unit. Again, micronutrients, fiber, water content, etc. So cruciferous vegetables, particularly broccoli and particularly cauliflower, take up a lot of room and they're incredibly healthy for you. So that's the first baseline layer. The next layer is dark leafy greens. Dark leafy greens, super optimized. Exactly. You can get some sort of baby kale. You can get some sort of spring mix. Find them at your typical grocery store. I generally like to do some sort of spring mix only because it adds variety. One of the things I'm trying to do and Ray's trying to do with his diet is add as much variety as possible to get in as many different types of nutrients in there. Fun fact, dark leafy greens, and this is what Dr. Michael Greger said, is that you're trying to optimize one lens is you're trying to optimize the color of your diet. So when you walk into the grocery store and you see in the vegetable aisle, 25 different colors, you're trying to do the same thing in your bowl. One of my questions early on, because I'm ridiculous and I'm just a pain in the ass with any area of research, I was like, but dark leafy greens are not really colorful. Finally, I found the answer to that. And Dr. Greger said, actually, dark leafy greens are incredibly colorful, except for the chlorophyll overrides or overshadows all of the colors. But then eventually, like in the fall season on the East Coast, you can see that when the leaves start to lose their chlorophyll, you see all of these colors come out, which is the changing of the seasons, instigates that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I generally try to do some sort of spring mix, nothing fancy. I try to go organic with all of these ingredients if possible. Okay, next is zucchini or Brussels sprouts, I would add. Zucchini is phenomenal in terms of water content. Yes, exactly. Shredded cabbage, a whole bunch of different things like that, where it has a lot of water content, so it can add volume and fiber content. It can add volume with basically no calories. Now, I know that there are calories in these things, but trust me, I've never had anybody come up to me and say, oh man, I got fat. I couldn't just lay off the zucchini. I couldn't lay off the apples. I couldn't lay off of whatever, right? So that's the next layer. Okay. The layer after that is some sort of beans or lentils. So white beans, kidney beans, black beans. Yeah, exactly. So Ray's showing kidney beans. I try to change my beans every time. So as I posted on the Discord this weekend, I often go to Whole Foods salad bar. And I'm not saying that to sound like bougie at all, but I love salad bars. Why? I don't care if it's Whole Foods. I don't care if it's, I even think they used to have them at like Pizza Hut or some shit like that. Fun little fact. I don't know, Ray, if you told me this, but kale was the number one purchased vegetable in America for a while. And it was because of Pizza Hut and because they would put the kale around their salad bar, actually not even to be eaten. That's when kale was not so popular. But I try to change my beans every single time. So I span from like garbanzo beans to lentils to kidney beans to different types of kidney beans, etc. So that's something I try to change as well. Okay, next layer that's going to be your starchy carbohydrates: potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice. Exactly. Now, here's the thing. Somewhere along the line, people got sort of jaded by starchy carbohydrates. This starts to get into the argument where people are like, oh, carbs make you fat. First of all, over consumption of calories is what makes you fat. Extra energy storage is what makes you fat. Not carbohydrates, not fat itself, not protein, right? Like this is what makes you fat. Over consuming calories. So starchy carbohydrates, I have found, and there's a lot of literature on this, and a lot of bodybuilders do this, they will eat starchy carbohydrates as a more dense form of energy. Now, please hear me on that. Yes, it is a more dense form of energy. So if you take a cup of rice, that will give you more calories than a cup of broccoli. Very important for us to know that reality. So that's why you just saw what Ray put in his bowl. It's just a handful of starchy carbs. It's not 5 handfuls full. Now, notice that we built the bowl, the base of that bowl. If you look at Ray's bowl, 95% of it is not very calorically dense foods. The calorically dense foods there are going to be beans and going to be starchy carbs. That's why we're only doing a handful, roughly, of starchy carbs and just a sprinkle of beans. That's it. So don't take this overboard. Now, the next thing from there is adding on the protein. Now, if you're vegan, that's all good. If you're not vegan, that's all good too. Like I generally add a handful of protein, just like Ray is doing. So again, not 10 handfuls of protein, just a handful of protein. And then on top of it, if you want to make it taste a little better, I also, for my starchy carbs and for for some extra energy, I will also sprinkle in fruit in there as well, oftentimes. So handful of berries, 2 handfuls of berries, some cantaloupe, some watermelon, whatever the hell else. I think that fruit has gotten a bad rap for some reason over the last decade, if not more, because people know that there's sugar in fruit, but there you go. That's probably Ray's showing some sort of raisins or cranberries or something. I love putting that stuff on my salad. And again, please do not be scared of adding that because you heard, or that somebody read some book somewhere that said fruit is bad. I have not experienced this at all, and I would challenge anybody to find actual evidence from their own life that fruit is bad. Like, have you ever just try this for a week and see if you don't lose weight, right? Try this model to see. And so what I do here, I typically don't add anything else. I just cut it all up, like literally cut it up into the smallest pieces possible. Why? Because it breaks cell walls of the fruits and vegetables and therefore releases the liquid. So I do not need any dressing, like literally ever. And I don't miss the dressing at all. In fact, when I put every once in a while, I'll go to a restaurant and they make the mistake of putting dressing on my salad, even though I asked them not to, or I forget to ask them not to put it on dressing. I do not like the salad because then everything tastes like Italian dressing or everything tastes like Caesar. I can't stand that shit. Plus it breaks this whole diet, literally, because when you add on dressing, so many dressings are so unbelievably dense with fat. It adds like an extra 300, 400, 500 calories, depending on how much the salad is drenched in dressing. So I cut this stuff up and I never, ever, ever use any sort of dressing. Now, what Ray is showing right there, I believe, yes, if you do want to add some sort of liquid, I think balsamic vinegar, not vinaigrette, balsamic vinegar is the way to go. Balsamic vinegar, from my understanding, very healthy for you, and you can get plenty of different types of flavored balsamic vinegars. I literally, in my cabinet, I have probably 20 different types of oh yeah, Ray's saying it's only 10 calories. So you compare balsamic vinegar, only 10 calories a serving, to some sort of oil-based dressing. Yeah, so Ray, what is that saying? Perfect. That's spot on. So Ray is showing his olive oil. I believe that's olive oil. Yep. Olive oil, which a lot of dressings are heavily based in oil. Ray just showed right there, the balsamic vinegar serving is only 10 calories. The oil serving is what? 120 calories. That's crazy. You're talking about more than a 10x difference. That kind of stuff adds up over time, especially if you consider like people just like pour that dressing all over their salad. Do not do that. Now, a couple things. Well, Ray, let me pause there. Anything to add there, brother?
One way to reduce your intake of olive oil is to get an olive oil spray. You can get them at any grocery store. So this says, a half-second spray is 5 calories. So this is a way of adding oil if you want, which is good for your skin, but without adding 1,000 calories.
Yep, absolutely.
And another life hack, you get these bagged salads at almost any grocery store. It's a kale mix, and this one has broccoli, green cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, chicory, dried cranberries, pumpkin seeds, and the poppy seed dressing. Throw out the dressing. The cranberries, if you want them, you can have them. I don't usually put them on. But otherwise, you rip this open, dump it in a bowl, and you've just achieved in 3 seconds what Wes and I have been doing for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, dude, and Ray, that's such an outstanding point because there's some objections to this, right? Like, oh, it's expensive. Well, number one, let's talk about the expensive thing. Number one, expensive is relative. I can show you definitely how to reduce costs. Ray just showed you one. Or you can buy all the ingredients yourself, like at Costco or something like that, chop it up yourself, and I think you'll be surprised dramatically with how low it costs to get an optimally rich nutritional diet.
This bag is $5, and you can have at least 2 salads out of it.
Yep.
So that's $2.50 for your density bowl.
Exactly.
Add the chicken, a little more money, but that's $2.50 for the most important parts of the density bowl. And then you can add whatever veggies you have in the fridge that are like I have a leftover roasted red pepper here.
Yep.
I'm just going to throw it on. That's not in the density diet bowl graphic, but I mean, I don't see any harm in just adding more veggies. And then a little spritz of lemon. Again, lemon and balsamic vinegar or maybe a spray of olive oil instead of some Kraft brand prepared dressing that's full of sugar and xanthan gum and whatever else.
Yep.
Keep it simple.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, I'm ready to go here, boys. Like, look at this.
100%.
It's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, so you look at the size of the bowl that Ray has, plus just the different colors. Like, don't get so clinical about this where you feel like you have to study it for 4 months before you do it. No, go and fucking do it today, and just try it and commit. Now, Kaizen, thank you so much for posting this. Kaizen just posted to Discord some spinach, etc., showing the cost to how cheap it is. And I love talking about the objections here because a lot of people think they can't do it based off these objections. Number one, it doesn't cost anywhere near as much as you think. I would actually argue, especially if you look at long-term health side effects, et cetera, this is the cheapest diet you could do. All right, like I know I work in finance, so I have clients all the time who are like old, kind of like, you know, they're older, wealthier, et cetera, and they've been living like the wealthy lifestyle for a while, which also comes, you know, with a ton of body fat, comes with a whole bunch of prescription medication afterwards. Exactly. You know, that's not now that is more the exception than the rule out here in California, but you get the point. Exactly. So Kaizen is again spot on. They say you either pay for healthy food now or you pay for hospital bills later. Well said. Perfectly said. The next objection is time. But dude, if you go and do what Ray just talked to us about, there's so many things you can buy that are already chopped. They're already, Ray, is that washed too?
Triple washed, Wes.
Triple washed, exactly. So there's a whole bunch of these options out there now.
Hell, if you don't have time to put it in a bowl, just open the bag and eat it like chips.
Exactly.
Why not? Like on a road trip, dude. Why not?
Well, and to that point, like you can also get chopped up fruit. You can get all these things where I've timed this before. I think it took me 3 minutes. Like I got the optimal, like what I want to eat that day. I got like fruit, I got salads, nuts, seeds, blah, blah, blah. Like opened up the bags, poured them all into a bowl, and that was it. Done. Like quite literally 3 minutes it took me. Yeah. Patty P saying a good amount of us here on the cast know how to pack a bowl. Love it.
Not me, man. I've been out of the game too long. How about you, Wes?
So I was never in the game. I think I smoked weed like maybe 2 or 3 times in my life. Just because I was a nerd.
But since it became legal, obviously.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so that
bowl. I'm gonna mute and nibble on it if you want to pivot to book club.
Yes. So if anybody has any questions about the density diet or has experience with it, let us know in the chat. Ray's gonna chow down. So next book, I always want to make sure that we're making progress together. I don't know about you guys, but I particularly struggle with relationships, particularly struggle with communication in relationships. I have found that female counterparts, I tend to communicate differently than them, and that can be very frustrating for me. So I have a funny feeling that I, and probably most of us men, will be on a constant never-ending journey of developing our skill sets in everything, but in particular in relationships. And Matthew Bland saying that he's at work right now, but he'll definitely shout out the density diet, mixing bowl of salads in my life. Like, hell yeah. Love it, Matthew Bland. Thanks for the shout out for the density diet. Now, with that being said, pivoting to our men's book club, the next book is going to be, and I've already started this and Ray's already started, is called 8 Dates. I posted it to Discord yesterday. And this is basically the workbook of Dr. John Gottman, who wrote arguably the Bible of relationships, called 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. And Ray is showing the picture, 8 dates, in case anybody wants to buy it and read along with us. But this is essentially the workbook. Now, highly recommend, and I'm sure Ray and I will eventually do a book club on 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, which is absolutely outstanding. However, and John's saying he was looking at the other night. Yeah, please, like anybody who wants to read along with us, please, I beg you to read this with us, like beg you. So now the reason I'm suggesting that we read 8 dates first is because it's smaller, it's more digestible, and it is the workbook. So it will make us do the work first. Then if you want more of the philosophy, read 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. But I think if we do this in the inverted order, that we can actually start making progress quicker. I still think everyone should commit to reading both texts. Does that make sense? Ray, anything to add there?
We'll do both texts on we'll do both texts on the Rhomas Book Club, just in the right order.
Yep.
And so I'll just add that there is a PDF that accompanies the audiobook that I purchased, and I posted it to the Discord. Basically, the back cover of the book says, "Happily ever after is not by chance, it's by choice." And something you say all the time is that everything in life is a practice, right?
Yep.
Being good at sports, being, and even stuff as ethereal as being good at romance or being a romantic partner, or developing your taste in art. Like, none of this stuff is what you're born with. Everything is a practice, right? And so the back cover also says, "Strengthen and deepen your love with a simple and fun program of 8 life-changing conversations." So I dug into the introduction, or the first little bit of the book, and it doesn't require you to go on 8 dates at a movie or a restaurant. It's more like 8 conversations.
Yep.
And they describe them as dates because they don't want you to have these conversations while you're on speakerphone in your car or something like that, or just on your lunch break or coffee break at work, calling your wife or your girlfriend on your phone while you walk to the coffee shop. Like, these are, they want you to make time, schedule time for each other. That's why they call them dates. Like a date, you have to plan, you have to make a reservation, you have to go on a certain time and come back at a certain time while the babysitter, to get the babysitter home. So that's why they want you to structure it as dates. So some other notes from what I heard today is you have to make love or listening or being in a relationship, make it a practice, not a priority, which is interesting because it can being a good listener, making time for your spouse and all the things that we can struggle to do with all the other items we're juggling on a daily basis. It's not enough to make it a priority. You have to make it a practice.
Yep.
Because even if it's not a priority for you, if you make it a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly practice, you are nourishing the garden of your relationship. Again, they call it 8 dates because there are 8 different subject areas, such as romance, what kind of family you want, what kind of spiritual life you want, that you really require dedicated time together to have like a healthy exchange. One of the keys to having a long, successful relationship is having dedicated time together.
Yep.
And to remain curious, to ask open-ended questions. And then I journaled, like, a relationship is like a garden that is nourished by communication and listening. Sometimes that communication is easy. Sometimes it's rough, and when there's conflict, when you're disputing something. But silence is what breeds distance and contempt and resentment.
Yes, exactly. And I wanted to bring up Austin. Austin, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Awesome, dude. Super fucking great to see you. I saw in the chat when we were doing this, if you don't mind me saying this, it seemed like you were commenting on some relationship stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, totally.
So would you mind hopping into that? Because, and dude, I will make the disclaimer. I am horrible at romantic relationships. Like, so that's why I want us men to get together here as a circle, not a triangle, saying, how can we as a team enhance our ability to do relationships, to verb relationships, not to passively participate because a female is attractive in relationships. How do we do relationships? So Austin, please riff on that, bro.
Yeah, like I have a hard time connecting with somebody when I don't feel completely comfortable with them. And like when I feel comfortable with them, the big part of it is mostly trust. I don't think that they'll hurt me in some way. And I the best way I build trust is to expose a secret or like something about myself, expose something deeper about myself, and from then, if they want to use that against me, then I know that I can't trust them, like in a further argument, or if they tell somebody else my secret, then that would really hurt me. And I feel like a lot of people are worried about previous relationships that like their partner has had, and their past can affect how they view them in the present. And instead of building on what they are already and lifting them up into something better, similar to this group.
Can I ask you about this?
Yes.
Okay, so and I think what I just posted to the chat is Brene Brown's speech on the anatomy of trust. So Austin, please, if you have a chance, bro, like please watch it. I think it's like 7 minutes or something like that, where she breaks down trust and she puts an acronym into it called braving, so it helps you easily remember it.
Yes.
And Ray, please, comment on this if you have something to say about it. Austin, and I, by the way, dude, I've done something similar. It sounds to me like a test. Are you testing your counterpart, and do they know the test? So it sounds to me like, hey, I'm going to go and give this little piece of information to you to see what you do with it, to see if I can trust you. It sounds to me like that's the case, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to guess. I wonder what would happen if instead you communicated your values through something like this 8 dates, where you talked about the idea of trust and what it means to you. And then say, hey, here are kind of my ground rules. And then also wonder what would happen if you did homework on yourself to understand where the origin is of that. Because, dude, my dad left me and my mom when I was 4 years old. So I can tell you, dude, I've got the same fucking DNA, right? Like I don't trust anybody, right? And as soon as they like break any version of my trust, I'm like, all right, cool. Like now I have an excuse to put you at arm's distance away. And that helps protect my emotions. But the downside is then I don't get the long-term committed relationship with the female, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. See, that's one of the issues that I have going into it, because I'm pretty young. I'm still like I'd still consider myself like a younger guy, where I'm going out and having like a couple of first dates here and there. And
how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 24, so I'm not like a completely like child or anything, but I'm not completely established at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time like trying to build some sort of relationship without it seeming like I'm in like a business partnership, and keeping this like romantic spark in it. And I generally don't want to put them in a position where I'm probing them very directly and saying so right now I'm going to reveal something to you that's like secretive to me, and it's a deeper secret, and I would like you to do the same, and we can share these trusts, and hopefully this will help us build a relationship. And it could be a very healthy thing to do with somebody, especially if they're able to reciprocate that, and if you're able to present it formally and they're able to respect that formality.
I was about to, you know what, dude, I was about to propose exactly that idea. Wes and I have done, or Wes and I subscribe to the Sandler sales training program. And if I can just switch out of romance into sales, something we do is the upfront contract. So every step, you'll notice this, and you'll notice this every time now. When Wes is about to ask you something personal, he's like, do you mind if I ask you something personal?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something we can go forward with? You say yes, then he makes the move, right?
Yep.
And so I was, rather than testing them, right, by giving something vulnerable and then letting them handle this kind of like time bomb well or not, like MacGyver or MacGruber, I was going to propose you try an upfront contract, and you say, in whatever language you're comfortable with, whatever you're vulnerable about, and see if you can build trust. Now, I suppose you could do it before, where you, like you said, you could say, I'm going to tell you something vulnerable, and if you want, you can tell me something vulnerable about yourself. Is that something you're okay with, right? You could use that language, or you could tell them the vulnerability. You robbed a bank when you were younger, but you've changed your ways. Tell them that, because I think you should own your shit. I believe we're on the path of progress here. We're not in the business of covering up our past mistakes. They don't define us, right? You could acknowledge and say aloud your vulnerability, and then after, explain why you said that, and invite them to do the same if they want. Advantage there is you'll know a lot faster whether this is someone you can trust, or whether this is someone that's just going to weaponize this information, or somewhere in the middle, someone who you can trust, but they're not ready to make that leap with you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Right. And I brought Kaizen on right now. And just real quick, Kaizen looking shredded, bro. Like when you had your chair tilted towards the light source and the upper chest, man, dude, like
looking diced.
Hell yeah, man. So Kaizen, I want to bring you on because I want your perspective on this, because I personally believe that Kaizen has just a broad range of knowledge. And in particular, let's even say we zoom in on relationships. He has done the homework in the initial attraction phase, and then has also gone through all of the seasons. And Austin, I wanted you to hear what Kaizen would say, because, for instance, one of the things that you said is, I sense some hesitation in your voice when it's like, I don't want to approach the relationship like a business, when I actually slightly disagree with that. I think men should approach it more business-like, not completely business-like, but oftentimes we just run after the shiny looking sexy thing and don't analyze whether or not the female can actually provide her work portion to the relationship. Then all of a sudden you end up getting married or having a child with somebody who can't pull their own weight. And trust me, this happens on the male side as well. I'm not saying it doesn't. But males are particularly susceptible to that because, dude, we would just run after attractive females all day long, regardless of whether or not they can freaking do any work, or regardless of whether or not they can communicate, right? So, Kaizen. Also, Austin, you also said that it sounded like you felt like it would be weird if you had these like formal conversations. Dude, I can tell you, females view it the exact opposite way. If you start telling females how you think so far in the future and planning a life with somebody that you've read books about it, it's the exact opposite effect of pushing them away. They will get more.
Squeegee the chair.
What'd you say?
You'll need to squeegee the chair if you have this conversation.
Yeah. So Kaizen, I want you to, if it's okay with you, can you riff on that kind of stuff so you can kind of give some guidance or your opinion to Austin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing to, especially like being 24, and I think John kind of touched on that. He says the amygdala doesn't fully form till you're 25, so give yourself time. You can't really expect too much, because this is like, if I was talking to myself when I was 24, this is what I would say now at 33, is spend most of your focus on growing yourself first, because if like most people want to be in a relationship and they want to be able to be with other people, but in order to do that, you have to be able to take care of yourself first. So build your skill set, build your career, build your finances, focus on that first. And then the rest of it is going to be like a byproduct to that. So get everything in your life situated to where you don't have to like put a lot of effort into attracting somebody like that. Like there's a lot of people will say like you attract what you are, not what you want. So if the type of partner that you want is one thing, but you're this completely different thing, it might not work out. That's just the way stuff works out sometimes. And then when it comes to like communicating, the more authentic you are and the more like real who you actually are, if you're being vulnerable, that's something that, I mean, obviously you don't want to on the first date start spewing your life story and all that, but like the more it's a combination of time, comfort, and attraction that will build into a relationship. The more time, the more comfort is built over time just from being together, going different places, experiencing different things. And then if you're communicating, not like, I understand what you say, you don't want it to be like a business, because a problem that a lot of, especially younger guys will get into, or people that maybe they come from like an engineering background and they're not like as socially savvy, is they'll be a little too much like a business meeting where they're not showing intent. They're not showing, I want to be with you like a man and a woman are together, not like business associates are together. So you have to be able to mix that in there. Like it's comfort and it's showing intent. You don't want to do too much of one or the other, but that's something, the more time that you spend having different interactions, meeting different people and just growing, the more you'll get that like dialed in. And especially like being 24, like, dude, you have so much time to do this kind of stuff. Like this is the perfect group to get into, to learn, to build, surround yourself with people that are growing and pushing themselves to be better. Like that's the most perfect thing that you could do at that age.
Oh yeah. And I'm almost twice your age, dude. And these are things I'm working on still. So I would love to have started my journey on the path of progress at 24. I agree with, as usual, I agree with everything that Kaiser just said. I love that be like the person you want to attract, right? I love that. I love the idea of securing your, sorting out your money, working on yourself. And Kaizen and Wes, I would say that authenticity that you're talking about and that being yourself you're talking about also comes from study and self-reflection and know thyself. And that is a way that you will figure out who you want to attract, or who you want to be with, what kind of person you want to be with, is to first know thyself, right?
Yeah. And one thing I think Kaizen brilliantly said, and I'm looking up a picture to represent this right now. Like, I think a lot of things are science and art in that order. Like even, and Ray, push against me on this. So like when I dance, I thought dance was pure art. Why? Because when you ask people how to dance, just casually out there, you see a good dancer out there on the dance floor or whatever. And then you talk to people, it's like, oh, how is that person such a good dancer? Like, oh, they just feel the music. So you get this sense that it's like this art that is basically, if you don't have it, you're never going to be able to learn it. It cannot be learned. But then funny enough, when you go to a dance school or you go to a dance studio, they teach you that it's science. First thing they teach you is, oh, most music is on an 8 count. And they start to teach you how to keep the beat. It's very much this mathematical approach. Art is the same way, right? So Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have purchased different drawing books, and I think 100% of the time, they don't tell you how to paint a picture on page 1. They show, okay, draw a triangle here or draw a circle here. And then you put another circle here. Like it's the baseline science of what eventually becomes the art. And then you get so good at the science that it becomes this beautiful picture, this beautiful mosaic. Same thing in all areas of life, in my opinion, Austin, if you don't mind me saying that. Learn the science of this shit. Learn the successful patterns of things. And then, yes, it might come off as mechanical in the beginning, but eventually you get the reps under your belt. That's where volume comes in. You do the fucking volume. Now you're a fucking master at it. Now it's a beautiful piece of artwork, as opposed to I'm just going to randomly go into this with my buds and we kind of figure it out together, which basically means we never figure it out. Maybe one person gets lucky in one area of life, but very rarely, if ever, is it holistic. No fucking way. Right? Like we have to study the successful patterns and then do them for a long period of time in a very frequent way, and then you will have a shot of becoming a master. Would you guys agree or disagree with that?
100%. Those on the dance floor or with a paintbrush or on a date or in marriage, those that make it look easy, that make it look natural, it's not easy and natural, right? It's a practice.
Yep, exactly. Austin, we'll pause there. Any questions, comments that you have on that?
Yeah, so just like recapping what was said is like working on yourself to be the best self and that would be a reflection of the partner that you'd hopefully have one day, and practicing those things of being your best self will help you get to be in that place where you're successful in all areas of life.
Yeah. Now, I would highly recommend that you consider, and Kaizen was spot on. Like, and when we say, I think oftentimes when men receive that advice of like, oh, just go become your best self. It's like, listen to what Kaizen said there. Like, legitimately, intentionally do that. Like Kaizen has gone to a bunch of like immersion seminars, and so have I, and I believe Ray has as well. Oh yeah, Ray definitely has as well. Like we mean, if we were to look over your shoulder and judge with a scorecard whether or not you're actually fucking trying to make progress, would we come up with a solid score? Because most men hear this and like, oh, okay, cool. And then maybe they read one book. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about like actually going down an intentional road of progress. Now, for females, this is what I have done. Now, I do think it's worked well for me on the attraction piece, but I suck shit at the longevity piece. That's what I need to work on now. But this is my formula for the attraction piece. So I put all of these things, and we've gone over this before, but like I put the archetype of like my queen there, and then I put all of these things around her to see whether or not I'm doing those things on a daily basis to earn that person. Now, you might disagree with these. It doesn't matter. It's like pick your own, but think of it through a female's lens. What are the things that your perfect female is attracted to? And if you want, go like, this is how fucking weird I am. I would go and find those females and just say, hey, I'm not hitting on you. I want to know. I would go and interview those females, quite literally. Funny enough, you probably might get some dates out of this too. But literally go and find out, what does the market want? This is just market research. Find out what those core things are. They are probably things like humor, right? Being able to dance, being able to pay for shit, right? Like whatever that is, like what those things are, and then put those in a scorecard for yourself and then do them every fucking day, or don't, but then live or die by the results that you are planting the seeds for every day. Make sense?
Yes. Market research is a vocabulary word I'm going to take away from that.
Yeah. Kaizen, I would love to get your opinion on that. What are your thoughts on that exercise?
Be honest,
if you think it's overboard, please.
No, the only thing with that is, and this is something I probably will get pushback for saying, but a lot of the times women don't actually know what they want. They'll say one thing, like they'll tell you they want a nice guy. They don't want a nice guy. They'll say certain things, and it's not like they don't know. It's they don't know how to verbalize in a way that we would understand what they actually mean. So that's where going out and doing the reps, you'll learn. And this is something that a lot of dudes fuck up on, is they'll stay in their small town where there's like maybe 100 people and there's like 3 bars, and they'll go to those same 3 bars. And then even if they are going and talking to people there, That's all the experience that they'll ever get. What you need to do, especially if you're young and if you don't have a mortgage, if you don't have kids, if you don't have something tying you down to that city, move to a bigger city. And there's multiple reasons for that. Number one, there's a book Malcolm Gladwell wrote called Blink, I think it is, where he says people in bigger cities talk faster, they think faster, they walk faster. It's all like, for some reason, when you're around that group and cluster of people, your brain picks up speed. It's like listening to an audiobook on like double, triple speed, things like that. You'll have more people that you can communicate with. And then on another level, it's like somebody that is a 10 in their small town. If they're in a big city where there's a lot of other 10s, all of a sudden they're not a 10 anymore. They're like a 7 or 8 or whatever. And so it makes it easier for you to go up and talk to all these different people. And then you're in the habit of talking and you're learning, you're experiencing different things. And then it's not a big deal for you to talk to somebody that maybe in your head is a 10, but wherever that may be. I mean, if you're using like number scales or whatever, I don't really like to think of it that way, but that's one way that people understand it, is just go out, experience, figure out what works, what doesn't, and then just try things out. But that's the big thing, is go different places. Don't stay in one spot. Go experience different things. Because it's one thing to sit and theorize and read books or watch YouTube videos and say, well, maybe I think this, versus going out in the field, actually testing it, seeing for yourself. And that's how you're going to learn too. Like you can watch jujitsu videos on YouTube and look at the different techniques and read all the jujitsu books and all that. And then you get in a fight and you get your ass handed to you. Or you can go into a jujitsu gym and practice and figure out what works by doing it. It's the same kind of like methodology. You have to go out there and do the stuff that you want to be good at. That's the only way that it's going to happen. It's not going to come from like that. Those little things will help, but they're not going to get you the results that you actually want long term. You have to go do the work and the things that you want to improve in. And that's how you get the experience. And being young, you got plenty of time. Just go out and bang the guns, go out, get all the experiences that you can. And then by the time you're like 30, 40, all of a sudden you're this dude with all these experiences. So you have all these stories that you can tell, and you have all this knowledge that you can draw upon to be like, all right, I know this, because I've went here and now I can apply these in different areas. And then if you're young and you make mistakes, it's not a big deal, versus like if you're 50, 60 and you make a mistake and it could like fuck your whole life up. So do the mistakes and stuff now, learn things now. Don't wait 20, 30 years and be like, oh, I wish I would have done that. Like that's the biggest thing I would say. It's just go do it. If you're thinking about doing something now, just go do it. Don't even hesitate. Just.
Yep. Completely agree. 100%. And Kaizen, thank you for adding that. To the original point of like, one of the issues with it going on asking females what they want is they will not be able to articulate, at least a portion of what they want. Completely, 100% agree. I could not agree more. And thank you for adding that. So the point is, Austin, like, what is your best guess from the repetitions as to what women want, what your type of women want? Because there is also an important point to make there. Like a lot of these, like pickup books and so on, at least that I have read, it assumes kind of one archetype of a female, and probably the archetype that we think of when we think of a hot female. I would almost be willing to bet that you don't want that, right? That most of my peers actually, when it comes down to it, don't want the stereotypical female. Like they want a different thing. So define what that is for you, and then get in your reps like Kaizen is saying. And I completely agree with everything he said, 100%. Right?
Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. Like I was at a Jordan Peterson lecture a couple of weeks ago, as I've discussed, and what rang in my head ever since then is the comment, beware of unearned virtue, or do not seek unearned virtue. So, yeah, like it would be some kind of Twilight Zone scenario if you instantly had some kind of magic spell that could get every woman to fall in love with you. You know what I mean? It would be hell. You'd jump off a building in about 48 hours if they were all chasing you. So enjoy the journey. It's the best part. I mean, we're all on the path of personal progress here. We're all on a journey, and it's like, we're not waiting for the rewards. We're not waiting for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We're enjoying the journey. And I'm in Toronto. Wes is in California. Kaizen's in Ohio. You want to tell us what part of the country you're in?
I'm in the Stanislaus County of California.
Okay.
It's kind of near Sacramento, Stockton.
Cool. Okay. So I can think of a number of places where you can go to test drive what we're talking about today. And you don't need to pick up and move there either. You can do a weekend. You can do a day.
Yeah, you can micro test this stuff. And dude, Kaizen, thanks for that comment. I for some reason don't remember that area, that section of Blink about dense cities. Dude, that's phenomenal. That was phenomenal information. And I was like, wow, that's my aha for today. Is moving to a dense city.
I moved to New York. I was in New York for about 10 years, and it's just absolutely true. It's like it's like either working out at home versus going to the gym when you're surrounded by like-minded individuals that are pushing it to the limit. It's like studying at home versus going to the library when everyone else is there, motivated to work and learn and study. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Juggle or play hacky sack in the middle of the library? Or are you going to join the herd? Right. And so that's what I thought of when you mentioned that, Kaizen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So dudes, thank you so much. This has been fucking awesome. Kaizen, thanks for coming on. Austin, thanks for coming on. Ray, as always, thank you. Love you guys.
Shall we do the first two shall we go 2 chapters at a time?
Yep.
Okay.
So anybody reading along, we're going to read 8 dates starting today, and we're going to read the first 2 chapters by Friday. If you don't have time to pick it up and read it, no sweat. Ray and I are going to try our best to summarize those 2 chapters on Friday, and whoever wants to participate, awesome. And then we will save it in our inventory so people can always go back and learn from it.
And I'll continue with this one because I think it'll be especially germane to what you're going through.
Yeah, exactly. All right, dudes. Love you guys. Have an awesome fucking week. Talk to you soon. Later.